and welcome to those out there watching on the internet. Without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce to you a very good friend of our families. You've been seeing him on video. He is amazingly brilliant, a heart bigger than his brain, and his brain is quite large. I could read his bio, but instead of me reading it, we have a special friend of his, Sean. I present to you Sean with Dr. Daniel Nuzum.
All right. Hopefully this is going to do what it's supposed to do. Hello, everybody. Doc wanted me to just share a little bit about Doc, because Doc likes to share for a little bit of time when he starts talking about things. Doc is an amazing man. My wife, Tylene, and I met Doc a few years ago as we were traveling, speaking, and we meet all kinds of people. But we had never met anyone like Doc, not only from his knowledge, but his heart, but just the way he loves on people. We're going to briefly, I just want to take you through, just so you know who Doc is, as you can see up here, the youngest doctor of natural health, basically in the United States in history, at the age of 20. Okay? Pretty impressive. The oldest of 33 children. Okay? That's kind of interesting and unique. And let's just say that besides Doc, all of his siblings were adopted. And his amazing parents only adopted children who were unadoptable. Okay? Unbelievable. Everything you can imagine Doc was experiencing at a young age with his own siblings. And, with his parents both being doctors of natural health as well, Doc was learning things at a very young age. He learned that you can do so much on your own. And let's go back here. I won't stand here and read you what you're about to look at and what you're looking at now, because Doc obviously loves school. He continues to get educated. I always like to joke with people when people tell me they're too busy. I say, really? You need to meet my friend Doc Nuzum. As you look up there, he's a doctor of many things, PhD and a little bit more. Where does he find the time for all of this? Board certified, licensed, many more modalities. And in his spare time, he's a professor at a handful of universities teaching. Won't go into his extra time, because he's a 7th degree. He just does too many things. Where does he find the time? All these things are amazing about Doc. But the one thing I just wanted you to take away was this is a man who wants to heal people. He wants them to heal themselves. And a quick story on Doc, if you don't know his story, Doc's clinic, he was told, was under investigation. And suddenly, out of nowhere, his clinic was flooded. The files were all stolen. About a week later, he was told, Doc, you are no longer under investigation. Interesting. Doc didn't stop there. He kept going. And about a year later, it happened again. But only this time, they decided, we'll use fire. We used water. Let's use fire. Clinic burnt down. Again, the files disappear. That doesn't stop Doc, because he did it again. He kept going. Until a third time. This time, they decided they had to do it a little differently, because this man wasn't going to stay down. He loves people too much, apparently. And this time, they just decided to bring the SWAT team in. So everyone that worked in Doc's clinic, including his patients, were thrown to the ground with guns in their back. Guns in their back. And then he went to jail. So they locked him up. Doc lost everything. Everything gone. And this man has not stopped. And you need to understand that story. Why people like Doc Nuzum can make change. And if we lock arms, we can make change. With his beautiful wife, Gina, pregnant with her 5th child, I don't know where he finds the time to do everything that he does. But without further ado, I love this guy. Would you please stand and welcome Doc Nuzum?
Well, man, my wife says I'm the calmest, hyperactive person she's ever met. I was in the dojo the other day with my son. He said, the guys were, I coach kickboxers, and so they're all complaining, Doc beat me up, man, oh man, I'm sore. My son says, it's not fair sparring with my dad. And it's not because he's a 5'10", 225-pound, 7th degree black belt that bench presses 400 pounds. It's because he's a priest. If you hit him, you got to deal with him and God. So let's see here. Here we are. All right. So, Epigenetic Labs. Epigenetic Labs has been something we've been working on for a couple of years now. When Ty came to me, he said, Doc, we'd like to start something, but we need formulas that work. We need supplements that people can take where they don't have to take handfuls of supplements, but still get desired results. Okay, so he said, Doc, you think you could do something like that? And I said, well, for the last 20 years, I've been making formulas for my patients. I got quite a few that we've been using for the last 15 to 20 years. Why don't we try with some of those? We can start with some of those. He's like, well, yeah, sure. What do you got? Well, first one we took a look at was 7M+. 7M Plus is one of my older formulas, and what we have here in 7M Plus, well, we're going to step back here. Then we had Turmeric 3D, and we had Fulvamax. These three are kind of our core products. These are if you're going to be on something and stay on something, this is what you would want to take as far as the products we have in Epigenetic Labs. Let's see, I think I have more slides here. Okay, we got protocol, that's right. All right, let's start with Fulvamax. Fulvamax, has anybody here ever heard of fulvic acid? Okay, I talk about it all the time. It's the thing I'm all excited about. I love fulvic acid. I personally believe, I don't have time to tell you all about where fulvic comes from and all that kind of stuff, but I personally believe God knew we were going to destroy this planet, and He programmed something into the process of us being here that could fix our planet. And not only fix our planet, but fix us. And fulvic acid is one of those things. Now, there's a lot of different fulvic acid sources out there. There's issues with most fulvic companies, and I'm not going to bash on anybody or do anything like that, but with fulvic, there's a lot of things, how do I go there? There's a lot of things that have, okay, fulvic comes from dirt, and if you're just taking dirt and putting it in capsules, maybe cooking it so you don't have any microbes in it, it's not going to be as effective if you have biochemists taking and extracting the active compounds and making a delivery system out of this particular acid. What we have with fulvic acid is we have in Fulvamax, we took our fulvic, we took our humic, and we created in my lab, we manipulate humic and fulvic. We manipulate the carbons so we can open it up. We basically make spheres out of this stuff in tubes and all these different things. We take and we can insert ingredients into these fulvic and humic spheres, if you will. And these spheres are carbon-based spheres that the body absorbs just like it would absorb sugar. Has anybody here heard about leaky gut? Okay, good. So if you've heard about leaky gut, you've probably heard about candida. Okay. Have you heard about how people with leaky gut have a hard time absorbing things sometimes? Except for like whole proteins and sugar, right? They always can absorb sugar, right? Because your body, even in its worst state of health, will always absorb sugar because it's a primary fuel source. So what we did is we took our humic and fulvic acids, we deleted, if you will, the minerals and left it with its carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen forms. Okay? I won't go too far with this, but that carbon, hydrogen, oxygen is the same thing as sugar. Okay? So what we did when we took and added our humic and fulvic delivery systems to these other ingredients, we made them as easy to absorb as sugar. Okay? Do you have anything, can you think of anything else? I mean, minerals have to be bonded to amino acids, right, in order to be picked up in the gut. Unless they're put into a humic and fulvic matrix where the body just absorbs it kind of like sugar. Just picks it almost on contact, okay? So with Fulvimax, let's see here, where's Fulvimax? Oh, there we are. Turmeric. Fulvimax. We took 36 fruits and vegetables, because everybody eats 36 fruits and vegetables a day, right? Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. We then fermented them, which you eat 36 fermented fruits and vegetables a day too, right? You go through all the process of fermenting. All right. So 36 fruits and vegetables, put them through a fermentation process, and through that fermentation process, basically we unlocked all the phytochemicals in those fruits and vegetables. Okay, so think of asparagus. Okay, asparagus has different enzymes in it that fight what we've been talking about here in this whole conference, right? We got apples have proanthocyanidins. We have grapes and blueberries and raspberries. They have their ellagic acid and all these different things. All these things you have to take a very, very large amounts of in order to absorb any of. You follow what I'm saying? We got to take this much of these raw materials to absorb this much over here. So by fermenting this, we broke them down in the process is pretty cool. We break them down, and in one of the processes that we actually feed them to mushrooms. Okay, we have medicinal mushrooms that grow off this matrix. It's part of one of the sets of ingredients that we have here. And those mushrooms grow absorbing this matrix. Okay, and what we end up with is literally a new species. We have a species, it's a mushroom that's also a plant. Okay, if you look at your species, that isn't a species, okay, except for over at our lab. All right, you may have seen in a turmeric 3D video that we did, where on accident, we had reishi mushroom spores fall into a bag of turmeric root. And we went and opened the bag, the spores ended up getting in the bag. What we pulled out were these mushrooms, but they looked like turmeric root. It was like, what is this? You know, we took it to the lab, we analyzed it, and what we found is that reishi mushroom, we had the genetics of reishi mushroom, but we also had all the genetics of turmeric in the same mushroom, if you will. Okay, so that's one of our fermentation processes. And with this, we've taken and unlocked all of those phytochemicals, and we've standardized it to certain levels of your standard levels of your different vitamins and minerals, so that we create a vitamin, a daily vitamin that you could take. But what it is it's a whole food with 36 fermented fruits and vegetables that we've then bonded to our humic and fulvic acid, which makes it absorb like what? Like sugar. Okay. Now we have turmeric 3D. Turmeric 3D, we've got all your favorite ingredients. Anybody know anything about ashwagandha? All right. Is anybody here stressed? Maybe not today, but has anybody traveled? Let me ask you that. If you've traveled, I'm sure you've been stressed. There's a little thing that happens when you're stressed. It's called, it's a stress response your body has. Your adrenal glands produce a hormone called cortisol. I teach where cortisol goes, estrogen follows. So if cortisol goes up, what's estrogen do? Goes up. Okay. Cortisol is an anti-testosterone. Okay, so if your cortisol is high, what's going to be high? Estrogen. What's going to be low? Testosterone. Oh man, that kind of stinks, doesn't it? Well, ashwagandha is one of those adaptogens that flips that. So your stress response isn't so hard and so strong that you produce massive amounts of cortisol. So instead of producing massive amounts of cortisol, you don't produce as much. All right? It modulates your stress response. So you're not, when you have, you travel, your kid gets sick, you have a spat with your wife, that kind of stuff, your cortisol doesn't go through the roof when you're on ashwagandha. It keeps it nice and level, so it doesn't throw off everything else. One stressful event that causes a cortisol spike leaves your metabolism, your hormone metabolism, in that state where high cortisol, high estrogen, low testosterone state for 12 hours. That's not very good, huh? Ginger root. Anybody like ginger? I love ginger. Ginger is like one of my favorites. I'd eat ginger-flavored everything if I could. I love ginger. Ginger has all of the same anti-inflammatory and anti-carcinogenic capacity of turmeric. It doesn't have the same effect on the brain as turmeric. Okay? So from here down, ginger does everything turmeric does. Turmeric has a different effect on the brain. We'll get to that in a minute. Vitamin D. Vitamin D3. If you get enough vitamin D3 in your system, you can reboot your hormones. Okay, if you have a low hormone production, you raise your vitamin D levels enough, you naturally reboot your endocrine system. There are multiple enzymes in our body that are anti-carcinogenic. All of those enzymes are dependent upon us having a surplus, not enough, I'm saying a surplus of vitamin D, particularly vitamin D3. Important formula. Now we get to, well, let's talk about turmeric. Because the reishi and the turkey tail in this, has anybody ever seen a reishi mushroom? Okay? Have you ever seen a turkey tail mushroom? They call it turkey tail because it's kind of like a fan shape, like a turkey tail, literally, okay? That's how they grow. We grow this reishi, which is also a fan-shaped mushroom, and this turkey tail off of our turmeric extract. Okay, that is what, if you saw the turmeric 3D video that we've aired before, that was actually sitting on the table when me and Ty were talking about turmeric 3D. How this comes out. It's pretty cool, pretty cool. We start with an acetic acid extract. Okay, so we make a turmeric kombucha, basically. Okay, we also, in another bin, we do a probiotic extract, or a dilution of, we dissolve turmeric root with probiotics. Probiotics eat the turmeric and they turn orange. They start black and turn orange. It's pretty cool. And then we take that matrix and we feed it to these mushrooms. Okay, we also have, in that matrix, we have blueberries and blackberries and black cumin seeds and all these other things that are high antioxidant. So what we've done with turmeric, the reason we did this, it was turmeric has a compound called curcumin. And it's a flavonoid, and curcumin is a very large molecule, and it only absorbs well into your system if you have severe leaky gut, which is kind of not so good, right? So in order to break that, in order to get it to absorb better, we had to do something to shrink it. In my research with turmeric, prior to creating turmeric 3D, I had a clinical formula where we would take these ingredients, but we put them in one of my liquid fulvic acid mixtures. I want you to do the math here. We would take 1 kilo, okay, which is 2.25 pounds, of 3 different turmeric extracts, 3 different types of turmeric. Okay, so which is how much? That's almost 7 pounds, right? Then we took a ginger root extract, another kilo of that, which takes us up, now we're almost 9 pounds, right? Then we took the ashwagandha, okay, we actually had a adaptogen matrix that mixture that we put in here. And then we took another kilo of a mix of medicinal mushrooms. Okay, so total we're talking about right around 15 pounds. Okay, and how many ounces are in a pound? 16. Okay, so we're looking at 240 ounces. We put this into our fulvic acid liquid, and it was 36 ounces of fulvic acid liquid. Sounds like a lot of big volume, right? Lots of volume, lots of stuff here. As we added and mixed all these different powders into the fulvic acid liquid, we ended up with 57 ounces of liquid. Do the math there. That shouldn't be possible. Okay? Fulvic acid absorbs things into its matrix. And fulvic acid itself is a nanoparticle. In the process of absorbing things into its matrix, it shrink wraps it. Okay? It shrinks it down. Takes the molecules, pulls them in, makes it tighter. Okay? Then, when exposed to water, particularly carbon and hydrogen, it's oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen, but it has to be in the water in the presence of carbon. That matrix unlocks, and the fulvic will release its contents. So we couldn't take that particular product to market because it costs $320 an ounce to make. It worked really well, but it was also transdermal ready. And most of the time when you put curcumin on your skin, it turns it yellow for days, if not months. With our particular fulvic, it went through the skin and it left a yellow mark for about 2 hours. It was pretty cool. So what we did is we took that formula reworked it so that we could have a formula in a capsule form that was affordable. Okay, that was turmeric 3D. Let's go on to, okay, my favorite. I love 7M. 7M Plus. 7M Plus is my immune modulating formula. We have 7 different mushroom complexes. Okay, research out, take a look at the formula. There's a lot that we can't make any claims, okay? So you need to go look at the research on turkey tail mushrooms. Turkey tail mushrooms have been researched. There's more cancer-related research on using turkey tail mushrooms all over the world than any other mushroom. Chaga from Russia. The Russians have done massive amounts of research related to cancer with chaga, okay? And they've been doing this for the last 80 years. They had 80 years of research on this, okay? Double-blind, placebo-based studies they've been doing. You have to look it up. Shiitake and lintain. I gotta tell you this. This is my, in teaching about mushrooms, mushrooms increase the information that your immune system has in order to defend itself. Okay? When we consume mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms give us their immunity, literally. Okay, there's an old indigenous medical theory that plays through here, and that is, they told us that the belief is that when you eat a plant, you take on the properties of that plant. Okay, so if, in this case, when you eat medicinal mushrooms, they impart their immunity to you. And so I equate it to like learning a new vocabulary, and when you're taking, shiitake and maitake together, your immune system gets to tell microbes, maitake no shiitake. So, so with this group of mushrooms, we have a whole array of different types of polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are long-chain sugars that are like books of information for your immune system to download and to incorporate into your immune response. Okay, this is how medicinal mushrooms work. Now, we took all these different mushrooms and we added fermented kelp. Fermented kelp not only has multiple types of astaxanthin. Okay, anybody familiar with astaxanthin? Okay, astaxanthin's it's what turns the birds, the pink birds, flamingos. There we are. Sorry, they stand like that and do this thing, right? That's what turns them pink. Is astaxanthin. It's the carotenoid that turns them pink. It's from the water and so forth. And that particular carotenoid is neuroprotective. It is one of the best ocular nutrients you can take for eye health. It also protects against UV rays. Kind of a cool deal. But seaweed has more variations of astaxanthins than any other plant. So we went with this for multiple reasons. One, it's not expensive, okay? And we get our kelp from the North Atlantic, so it's as clean as it can get. We're actually working on some onshore production of kelp too. We're not quite there yet, but we're trying to avoid Fukushima, by the way. And all the radioactive fallout. Another compound naturally occurring in, another group of compounds actually naturally occurring in kelp and seaweed is fucoidin or fucoidins. When fucoidins are another group of polysaccharides. Remember, polysaccharides are like books that your immune system can download and incorporate into its immune response, right? So this particular group of polysaccharides, if you look a lot of the Japanese research on that, you see they've been doing research on that related to cancer for the last close to 100 years. Lots and lots of research. And again, we have our humic and fulvic delivery system. So what I'm going to be talking about today, what I'm supposed to talk about, and I got 14 minutes, okay, is our process. Okay, how are you supposed to take this stuff, Doc? Right? Oops. Okay, there we are. Anyways, how are you supposed to take this stuff? You know, if you take, do I take all of them at the same time? Do I take one before the other? Do I do this? Do I do that? Well, if you've talked to me at all over the last couple of days, you've probably heard my synopsis of natural medicine. My synopsis of natural medicine is that healing is a process. Okay? Healing isn't a destination. Healing is a process. As long as you're alive, you're going to have to continue healing. It's not something that you don't arrive to healed. That doesn't happen. Okay? As long as you're alive, you have to continue to heal. Now, healing and treatment of disease hardly ever cross. Those are two paths that don't cross very often. I'm going to tell you why. At my clinic, we do not treat disease. I treat my wife. I treat her to dinner. I treat her to a movie. I treat her to coffee. Right? Why would I do that? Well, I like her. I'm trying to cultivate a relationship here, right? You know? As a physician, why would I do that to disease? Think about that for a minute. Why would a doctor treat a disease? Okay, a patient comes to me, they have a disease, and I throw some pills at disease because the disease is all irritated, but the patient's sick. The pills settle disease down, but they didn't make the patient any better. The patient is still sick. Okay? Patient goes on a little farther, comes in again, because disease has reared its head again. Okay? Let's come back, quote unquote. New flare-up, whatever you want to call it. And this time it takes 2 pills to settle disease down. Okay? Patient is even sicker now. They just don't feel it yet. Okay? They don't feel better, but they're feeling a little, don't have the same symptoms. The symptoms have gone away. A lot of times now they have different symptoms. So next time they come in, disease has overcome them at this point. Now we got to treat disease with 3 pills, a procedure, on top of the other pills they were taking. Right? Has anybody ever met anybody on that hamster wheel? Okay, have you ever been on that hamster wheel? You know, think about that for a minute. So, if we're not treating disease, what is it that we're doing? Well, we act as guides. We take people through the healing process, which is very simple. And everyone that has spoke over this entire weekend has been talking about this process, but I'm going to make it real simple for you. Okay, think of the last time you cut your finger with a dirty, rusty nail. Okay, you cut your finger. Okay, we're going to go through the healing process here. Number 1, stabilization. We put pressure on that wound. Why? Because as long as it's bleeding, we can't do anything to heal it. Right? It's not stable. If something is not stable, we cannot make it better. So, and this is, effectually, that is where I believe conventional medicine shines. Okay? Conventional medicine is very good at keeping people from dying. They're absolutely horrible at making people healthy. Because those are 2 different things. You know, you can be not dying for years, you know, and not be healthy at all. Right? So, you got a dirty, rusty nail, just cut your finger. You stop the bleeding. You put pressure on it. You stabilize the situation. It's not bleeding anymore. What's your next step? Detoxification. Detoxification. Every piece of dirt and rust in that wound is a roadblock to your finger getting better. Okay? So remove all that dirt, get all that dust out, okay? All the rust, dirt gone. Now we're on to number 3. And this is fortification. Now in my clinic I had an old fella with his wife. I'm explaining this process. He goes, I like this, doc. Fortification. He's like, great. He's like, no. I said, turn your hearing aid up. Man, come on. No, we have to fortify. Okay, and what's that look like? You put a salve on there, you put a bandage on there. Okay, if it was really bad, you use a suture. Why do you use a suture? It's because when there's a laceration and you approximate the 2 borders of the laceration, it heals better. Okay, when you bring the 2 sides of the cut together, they heal better. Okay, there's a lot of chiropractors here. Chiropractic care, osteopathic care, our manipulative practices are taking the borders of joints and lining them up again. Why does that do so much good for us? We're taking two borders of a lesion and realigning them, right? So, in this process, keeping this process in mind, I designed the line of products here for Epigenetic Labs. If you're not strong enough to detoxify, okay, if you're weak, you ran down, you just don't feel good, then we need to do something to stabilize you. We need to do something to make you strong enough to detoxify. That looks like bone broth protein and Fulvamax. Okay? Those 2 products, okay, give you extremely easy to absorb nutrition. Okay? If you're think about this. When someone's dealing with an inflammatory process, what happens to their body? It swells up, right? That's what inflammation is, isn't it? Swelling? By definition, that's what inflammation is. So if you have inflammation and that water, let's say, moves into your knee and it's stagnant, what happens to stagnant water? It goes bad, right? When that goes bad, what happens? You know, if I take a bucket and fill it with water, I put it outside and leave it there for 2 weeks, would I go drink that water? Oh, no. Why? It's going to have stuff growing in it, right? If my knee's all inflamed and irritated, swollen up, right? I go take an anti-inflammatory to get the swelling down. But if I'm not doing something to facilitate that swelling leaving my body, it's going to come back, right? So that goes back to filtration. Filtration, where are your body's filters? You have your lymph nodes, your kidneys, and your liver. Those machines, okay, those filters cannot function properly if they do not have all the nuts and bolts to work. Those nuts and bolts are called vitamins and minerals, cofactors, okay, your phytonutrients. All those things have to be present in order for that machinery to operate. We're a biological organism. Biological organisms have to have nutrients put back into the system so things can heal. Okay, things break down, and if there's nothing there to rebuild, it doesn't rebuild. Okay? And things break down, they break down, and finally you're broken. All right, so I got 6 minutes here. Here we go. All right, so protocol. You guys got something to write with? All right, here we go. Bone broth protein, Fulvamax. 1 month to 2 months. If you're ran down, you just are really sick, have been sick for a long time, we got to get you built up strong enough to detoxify you. After a month to 2 months on that, then we start you on Optimox. We didn't even get to talk about Optimox today. That's a whole nother talk. Okay, so detox. Okay, we gotta get you stable. That looks like Fulvamax and bone broth protein. Now you continue the Fulvamax, you continue the bone broth protein, but you implement the Optimox program. The Optimox program is designed to get those filters filtering. Okay, you got to get exits open, you got to get things leaving the body, and you got to get the filters filtering. Real simple, real simple, right? We used to go rat hunting when I was a kid. You probably never went rat hunting before, right? It was fun. We were 8, 9, 10 years old. We go make spears out of the sticks and whatnot. We go rat hunting. The only place you could find rats, though, was in the back of the trash bins behind the restaurants. And so we'd go there and we'd catch our rats, right? The places where you're going to have inflammation and infection are where you have waste. Just like that's where we would go find rats, okay, where there was waste, where they had food. You're going to have infection and inflammation anywhere that you have waste accumulated in your body. So Optimox is designed to help start removing and eliminating that waste so your immune system doesn't have so much to contain. Once you've done that, go through the Optimox program, then we have the Fulvamax, the Turmeric 3D, and the 7M Plus to start reprogramming and rebuilding your immune system. We're in that process of reprogramming and rebuilding your immune system. We have the Turmeric 3D designed to reduce swelling. Okay, when we reduce swelling, there's a couple things that has to happen. One is blood flow has to improve. If you look at ginger, turmeric, even vitamin D3, all those things are excellent for improving blood flow. Okay, there's a tenet in medicine that says the healing is proportionate to blood flow. So we got to improve blood flow. That Fulvamax works on blood flow. It also starts reducing the activity of different pro-inflammatory enzymes. Okay, then we have 7M Plus. 7M Plus, again, remember, we're trying to teach the immune system a whole new vocabulary. Maitake no shiitake, right? Okay. Okay, then we have the Fulvamax, and Fulvamax is there. Think about when you are nutritionally deficient. Okay, this is Toxicology 101. When you're nutritionally deficient, you are a toxin sponge. Has anybody heard anything about how exposed to toxins we are this weekend? Okay, my buddy Mike, did you hear his presentation yesterday? About biosludge and all that great stuff? Wow. How exposed are we? Well, when on a cellular level, if you are not nutritionally dense, you're a toxin sponge. So, Fulvamax, plug those holes, get those nutrient receptor sites full of nutrients. Okay, this is easy, very quickly absorbed nutrition. We have that coupled with the Turmeric 3D and the 7M Plus. It's like a trinity. Okay, in a marriage, you want a successful marriage? You have to think of a triangle. Okay, God at the bottom, the base of the triangle, with the husband on one side and the wife on the other side holding each other up. Okay? Take the base out, the thing crumbles. Take one side, drop it, they both fall. Okay? What we have here is a trinity. We have Fulvamax at the bottom, supplying all the body needs, with the 7M Plus on one side and the Turmeric 3D on the other side holding each other up, reprogramming your body's defense system. All right? All right. I got a few more seconds here. So, back to Our basic protocol: stabilize, detoxify, fortify. All right? Start with your nutrients. Start with getting the body strong enough to detoxify the body, and then fortify it, build it up again. It's real simple. Thank you, guys.
Good job. Wasn't that good? Wasn't that great? Thank you, Doc. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. That was a lot of information to absorb. I've talked to him on a personal level about those 3 steps, and I myself am taking, prescribed by him actually. Our whole family takes the supplements that he's talking about, and they really do make a difference. So I hope you try it for yourself and you continue to become healthier and healthier. Now we're going to take a 15-minute break, and so we will see you right here in 15 minutes.